What's going on, everyone? My name is Jake, this is where I talk tunes, and today we need to talk about Glastonbury. We need to talk about Kneecap, we need to talk about Bob Vylan, we need to talk about the criminalisation of the arts. This isn't a fun video, this isn't one I'm going to come on here and make a few wee jokes. You know, we'll talk about some tunes, we'll talk about what's been going on. This is a very serious topic of discussion that needs to be had, and a lot of uncomfortable truths are going to come out for some people. And let me get this out of the way first of all, because I suspect there's a good chance that this video is going to go past my normal basis, is going to go past my friends and family and people who follow me on the internet for my takes about wrestling or about comic books or indeed about music. So before we do go any further, before I do go on to talk about this topic, I do just want to say off the bat, this channel, me, all of my social media, all of my views, all of my beliefs are quite simple. I am pro-Palestinian, I am anti-IDF. I am not, however, anti-Semitic, I am not anti-Jew, I am anti-war, I am anti-Israeli government, I am anti-IDF. I am pro-Palestinian, I am pro-peace. No one's free until we are all free. So with that being said, why are we here to talk about Glastonbury and why are we here to talk about specifically Kneecap and Bob Vylan? Well, it's been no surprise that Kneecap have been making headlines with their words and their actions. Obviously, very recently, Liam Mokara from Kneecap caught a terrorism charge for comments made and having a Hezbollah flag and things like that under Britain's anti-terror laws. Now, the charges against Liam Og were dropped just after Glastonbury. However, amongst all the media backlash, including many industry people, signing an open letter to have Kneecap removed from the Glastonbury bill, there was a lot of pressure on people to have Kneecap removed and have them lose bookings. Obviously, they were removed from Transmit, one of the most disgusting and spineless acts of the music industry in recent memory. And the BBC decided that Kneecap would not be played live. Their set would be reviewed and edited and put up on iPlayer, but they would not be shown on the live stream, despite the fact they are one of the most important and one of the most talked about bands. I'm not even just going to talk about their importance and what they stand for and putting their political beliefs out there and keeping eyes on Palestine. Just in general, one of the most talked about bands right now, and the BBC said they're not going to be on the live stream because of this upcoming terrorism charge that Mokara had caught, which is obviously, like I said, thankfully and rightfully since been dropped. But the BBC, in a massive oversight, they left these two on the bill. Bob Vylan. Now, Bob Vylan have never minced their words. Bob Vylan have never fucked around. Bob Vylan have always been pro-black, pro-Palestine, pro-freedom, anti-war, anti-hate, anti-racism, anti-everything, with venom in their voice. And that is why they're one of my favourite bands in the world right now. I made a video around about a little bit over a year ago, where I called them the most important band in punk, and to be honest, I still view them as one of the most important bands in punk, if not the most important band in punk. I made that video for a reason. I think they're incredible, and I wanted to shine a spotlight on them. But now we're here, after Glastonbury. If you're somehow living under a rock, Bobby Vylan, in the middle of their set, got everyone going a Free Palestine chant. Obviously, because it's Free Palestine. He then led the crowd in a death to the IDF chant. Goes a little bit like this.
Death to the IDF. Death to the IDF. Death to the IDF. Death to the IDF. Death to the IDF.
Oh, it's catchy. One more time.
Death to the IDF. Death to the IDF. Death to the IDF.
Oh, how fun's that? And since then, obviously, people with no understanding of subtext, no understanding of context, or people who just don't want to accept the reality in front of them, are freaking out. Bob Vylan have been dropped from their talent agency. Bob Vylan have had their US visas revoked when they were about to go on tour with a grandson, an American Jewish artist who obviously knew about their political stances before he took them out with them, or before he signed to take them out with them. But they're anti-Semitic because they don't think we should be wishing anything but sadness and sorrow and pain on the people who have caused the most amount of child amputees in history. The biggest cause of death in children worldwide is Israel. And this didn't start in 2023. This has been going on for as long as I've been alive and more. This has been going on for the guts of 100 years, where Zionists are pushing Palestinian people out of their lands, out of their home, murdering and killing them indiscriminately. All of this has happened, and because we don't think these monsters should have anonymity, we don't think these monsters should have a life, we don't think this terrorist organisation should continue to exist, we are anti-Semitic. It's fucking disgraceful. If you truly believe in your heart of hearts that saying death to the IDF, or even a less harshly worded version of that, such as the IDF shouldn't exist. IDF are scum. I could keep going on and on and on. If you think those statements are anti-Semitic, that means you in your mind are conflating the existence of the IDF, the existence of a Zionist mentality and a Zionist way of life and the ideology of Zionism with being Jewish, which it is not. People saying, chanting death to the IDF, you're just chanting death to civilians because it's mandatory service. You don't need to do it. You will be served 3 months in prison in Israel because you do not serve in the IDF. So your choices are decapitate children indiscriminately or take 3 months in prison. That's a fucking barbaric thing that a government has imposed on its civilians. And I want to make this clear. The citizens of Israel who are not Zionists, the citizens of Israel and the Jewish population around the world are, I would imagine, mostly looking at this as for what it is nothing but disgraceful, disgusting war crimes. Some of the worst things that have ever happened in anyone's lifetime. But we have to sit there and say it's anti-Semitic to say that this should not be happening. It's anti-Semitic to say death to the IDF, death to the ideology of Zionism, death to the idea that these people can come into your home, take you out and just flatten your neighbourhood. Why? So someone born in Brooklyn can go and fucking live in a new apartment. Zionism is fascism. Zionism is an odious and eroding ideology that tears away your humanity because you strip the humanity out from those that look slightly different to you. Okay? No one is saying Israel does not have the right to exist. No one is saying that the Israeli people don't have a right to live there. No one is saying that Jewish people do not have the right to be free of persecution, but that should not come at the expense of innocent Palestinians who have been on the land for generations. If you believe your right to exist is threatened by someone else's right to exist, maybe your ideology should not exist. Okay? And the fact that all this has happened and Bob Vylan and Kneecap have been made the scapegoats and people are feigning more outrage at artists over what the political class and what the media class are doing, what the media class and the political class won't tell you, and in particular what the media and the political class will tell you and will push to the forefront. If you're pretending to be outraged by this, I beg of you to do something better with your time. And if you're someone that says, oh, I'm not really political, why does everything have to be so political? I implore you to just do a tiny bit of research. I implore you to just look into the history of this for just a tiny little second. If you are someone who believes that, oh, why can't we just keep our music festivals apolitical? Well, that maybe would have been the case if one of the biggest bands in the country, one of the bands booked to play, literally caught a terrorism charge. And all this time when the right are going on about people being jailed for hurty words, all they want to do is see Kneecap and Bob Vylan behind bars. All they want to do is see Kneecap and Vylan lose their sponsorships and lose their record deals and lose their representation and lose their tours and lose their opportunities. When in reality, this is the Streisand effect. All this is going to do is make these artists bigger and more popular and make them more money and give them a bigger platform to spread the correct message, which is Free Palestine. And for Glastonbury to come out and release that statement condemning what Bob Vylan said as anti-Semitic is completely and utterly horrific. It is horrendous. I completely understand for a PR point of view if they say, they want to distance themselves from Bob Vylan leading a chant of death to the IDF. I completely understand that, but then to conflate that with anti-Semitism, as we have been over, is bullshit. And the BBC are running headlines not saying claims of anti-Semitism, saying anti-Semitism. Bob Vylan should lawyer the fuck up and take every bastard and penny out these cunts' pockets. Every single penny from them. Because it is not anti-Semitic to say that a hateful, genocidal, occupying force should not exist. All the time Zionists lead rallies in Tel Aviv screaming death to Arabs. Radio silence. Death to the IDF. They're saying death to Arabs as a whole. They're saying death to the IDF. Death to an organisation that should not exist. But I want to talk about Glastonbury in general because obviously Glastonbury, as, let's be real, music and entertainment, people within music and entertainment are largely left-wing. You look at what is going on and you look at the voices that have been so openly pro-Palestinian since the beginning. A lot of musicians and a lot of artists and a lot of creatives have been pro-Palestinian from the beginning, since before October 6th or whenever the fuck it was. All these people, October 7th or whenever these people want to pretend this all began. But at the end of the day, if you don't believe that these people, these celebrities and these artists and these people who tour the world and travel the world and meet all these people and see these lived experiences and get to experience other cultures, if you truly believe that traveling the world won't make you more left-wing and more sympathetic and seeing how good we have it, if you don't think they feel a moral obligation to use their voice, then you just simply have never cared about music and entertainment and art, because that's kind of how it's always been. I mean, let's be real, Zionists don't care about facts or history or anything like that, because that doesn't fit their narrative, their little goo-goo gaga baby dipshit narrative. But fuck them. This channel's not a safe space for them. Fuck you. But at the same time, if you say, I want to go to Glastonbury, I want to have it be non-political, then if we want it to be non-political, then we should be screaming at the government to stop politicising the words of artists, to stop punishing the words of artists, taking musicians to court, taking musicians on terror charges, whilst continuing to fund and supply and sell arms to Israel, is a fucking joke. And if you think that that's how your taxpayer money should be spent, fucking bite the curb. Art is political, music is political. Art is meant to push boundaries. Art is meant to make you question. Art is meant to make you think. It's meant to be provocative. It is political. Everything is fucking political. Okay? And if you are simply too dense or too stupid to understand it, then unfortunately there is no helping you. But to me, I think the worst part of all this is the fact that we're not going to have Glastonbury next year. Because next year is a fallow year. For those unaware, Glastonbury, every few years, they will leave the field empty. They will not do Glastonbury, so the soil and the fields can recover from the impact of 200,000 people just fucking dancing and everything going on. Every few years, I believe it's every 5 years, they'll take a year off just to let the soil heal, leave it fallow, so everything can kind of return and be healthy, and then for the next few years it can all be good. So next year is a fallow year for Glastonbury, which means this time next year, this discourse is going to come back. I can guarantee you it's going to come back. And the right-wing media and the political class, and the media class in particular, especially if we continue to just see the blatant denial of war crimes and the blatant continuing of arming of people causing the worst suffering in the world right now, as that continues to be normalised and voices of dissent continue to be punished, when we get to this time next year, people will use their platform to say, well, the reason Glastonbury didn't come back is remember what happened to Glastonbury last year? And they'll say, remember when all those people were waving Palestinian flags, and remember those chants, and remember the fact that all these artists say the hurty words that hurt our feelings. And let's be real, they're probably not going to talk about the fact that all the fans were also there screaming that, because what they also don't want you to know is that the general public and the feelings of the general public are incredibly sympathetic to the struggle of the Palestinian, especially after the fact that it's just been televised and publicised, and all we see is children on fire or missing limbs or with their heads blown up. I watched a drone strike drop a bomb on 2 young men carrying a tent today, and I didn't even flinch because I'm so used to it. But because there is no Glastonbury next year, that is going to be used as a point of political power and a point to further this, that the support of the public is not with these people. When it is. Support of the public, it may not be with Kneecap, it may not be with Bob Vylan, it may not be with Amyl The Sniffers, it may not be with Soft Play, it may not be with Sprint, it may not be with Turnstile, it may not be with Snow Patrol, it may not be with me, it may not be with you specifically. But the support of the general public is with Palestine, and it is against Zionism. So I want everyone to remember this next year, when people tell you there's no Glastonbury because it got too political. They're only saying that because it got too political in a way they don't like, and in a way that scares them. This isn't really a music video as much as it is, I guess, a call to action, in a way. Speak up. Don't let your voice go unheard. Don't let your voice be lost. Don't let people try and tell you that Palestinians deserve anything less than just a right to exist. Don't try and let anyone tell you that believing that is anti-Semitic. Don't try and let anyone tell you that believing people should have a right to exist and not be bombed and forced out of their homes is in any way antithetical to caring about humanity. It's a bit of a rant. I came in with no real notes here, just my feelings on this topic. So I'm going to leave you with a few wee messages here. Free Palestine. Death to the IDF. See you next time.